Hello, everybody, and welcome to Come Back to Love radio show. I'm Robyn Vogel, and we are on Dream Visions 7 Radio. Welcome to my listeners out there. Welcome to Come Back to Love. We gather every week to explore the journeys of healing, connection, transformation in love and relationships. And again, I'm your host, Robyn Vogel, love and intimacy coach and creator of Heal Your Heart. Join me as I share stories, tools, and insights to help you rewrite your love story, whether it's about overcoming heartbreak, unraveling old patterns, or reigniting the spark in your current relationship. Together, we'll explore how love begins within and expands outward to create meaningful, fulfilling connection with others. You can tune in to Come Back to Love Radio every single Thursday at 1 a.m. and 1 p.m. Eastern on Dream Vision 7 Radio Network. You can listen online, on your mobile device, in your car. Simply ask Alexa or iHeartRadio to play Dream Vision 7 Radio. In each episode, I welcome incredible guests, and today we have one of my near and dear guests to my heart, Jeanette Tachynsky. Jeanette is a visionary and world-class retreat coordinator known for creating spaces where individuals can embody their light. Gosh, very similar work that we do. As the founder of Embrace Retreats, she draws on over 20 years of experience as a program officer, conference planner, program director, hospitality manager, so many interesting things. And it's all about creating heart-centered experiences. At Embrace Retreats, Jeanette empowers clients to embrace their true essence, allow transformational experiences to unfold without the stress of logistics. I love that. The service tiers range from fully managed retreats to collaborative planning, guidance, all rooted in heart-centered philosophy. Jeanette honors each client's unique vision and energy, believing that when we all shine, we all shine. Her commitment to collective radiance and personal empowerment is woven into every retreat she designs, ensuring unforgettable journeys filled with magic. That is a wonderful bio. And I'm
Thank
so
you.
happy to have you because our connection is all our work is like founded in the same place, in love, and for creating heart-centered experiences for people. So thank you, Jeanette, for being here today.
Thank you
I'm
so much for this invitation. I'm so excited to just share this with you in this moment and with all of your listeners. So it is definitely an honor to share this space with you today.
Thank you. So the way that we originally got connected was because I lead retreats for Come Back to Love, and you help organize, create, and in my experience, like really light up retreats around the world. And we both have a deep love for Costa Rica. So that I think is also was part of our initial like, ooh, we want to connect with each other. So I'm really, yeah, happy to have you here and happy to bring in this aspect. I know that, this work for me and this radio show inspires people and my listeners because of personal stories. And yes, we're going to talk about retreats and what it means to create something that's empowering for people to participate in, but also to create for themselves. And I wanted to start with the personal, though, the personal story. And so I always ask the question, what happened in your life that, let's start a little bit further back. What happened in your life that created an opening for awakening to love and to knowing like this deeper connection of love with yourself?
Well, what a question, right? And we all have a story, and having the opportunity to share this, and I haven't shared this before, as I was telling you, is that, over the last couple of years, I think I've been through the biggest transformation in my life.
Mm.
Not only just my career path and, the birth of Embrace Retreats, which has its own unique story as well, but, to really step into my true essence. And this is what I speak on, where it's the empowering to be our true selves, right? And to step into that power. But how I got here is a very heartfelt space and place to share with you. Is that, a lot of people do know this about me, but if you don't, is that, in the last year, I lost both of my parents to illness. And if you know me, you know how close my mama and I were. My mama was just my life and my biggest supporter. And what I will share with you is that, every I'm laughing because this woman could pack a suitcase like no other. I still can't figure it out. But she would be there every single trip, and it was never all of my crazy ideas. It was never, you can't do this. It was, how are we going to do this? Right? From my very first yoga teacher training to getting on every single plane. My mama was there, and every single time it was, Chi Chi loves you, I love you, my little dog, every takeoff and every touchdown. And what had happened is right before my 40th birthday, it was my biggest passion project was coming up at Imiloa. I was hosting my very first retreat. I was
In Costa
doing the
Rica.
thing. I was I was doing the thing without a following, without all of the things that we deem now so important in our creations, right? But what I had was this goal. I was just going to do the thing. And it was my energy and my essence and my belief that I was going to do the thing. And, that's a whole other story of who came in to support me and the women and the strategies and how we pulled that off. But what happened before I got on the plane, the retreat was happening and my 40th birthday was 2 weeks after. So of course I was planning to stay in Costa Rica for about a month to celebrate life, my biggest passion project, and just this new way. My 40s, this was going to be incredible. I had life figured out. We were doing all the things. And that Friday, we had a call, and we went to the hospital, and my mom had an oncology appointment, and we found out that she had stage 4 cancer. And it brings me to tears to think of this very moment, because right after that, she looked at me and was like, "You need to promise me you're going to get on the plane." She's like, "You need to go. You need
Mm.
to go and live your dream, right? And do this retreat and celebrate your 40th birthday, and all knowing that I love you, that we're going to figure this out, right?" And probably I love to travel, but that was probably the hardest plane ride that I did it. I did it for her, and the beautiful souls that supported me in the success of our first retreat, to then a beautiful, 40th birthday, but with all knowing that what I was coming home to was going to be the biggest fight of my life with the person who has always been my rock. And from that moment on, it was like, I went back to Costa Rica within that year too, and had decided to incorporate my business. And I was doing all these things. Some of it, I think, was because I didn't know how to deal with what was happening and what our reality was, right? Like my mama was my human, anything that happened in my whole life, this woman would just be like, my one support, and she'd just have to be like, "Do the thing." And I just felt so empowered. I had all of the confidence in the world to just do the thing because my mama believed in me. And, it was right closer to closer to the end of her fight, we got to spend this beautiful time together. And I had this opportunity to ask her. And I said, I was like, "Mama, are you upset with me for all of the travel that I do? And because I feel like I haven't been here the way that maybe I should have or I could have." And she looked at me, and with the biggest smile, and this is my favorite memory ever, after everything we went through. And she said, "No." She said, "I am so proud of you. And you need
Mm.
to promise me that you will still get on the plane." And, it's been a year and a bit now. And I took that. It's been a rough go, as grief now walks that path with us. If you've ever lost a loved one, you know, and it's celebrating those memories and that gift that when it comes through, it's okay to cry, it's okay to remember. And what I've realized is that my true essence, what my mama always said, I said, when we're traveling, trying to figure out down this path of life of what is the meaning, what are we here to do? And my mama always said that her whole purpose in life was to help me find mine and to share my gifts. And it just touches my heart so much as I'm almost in tears telling this is that, but I'm also smiling because I can feel her. And I know that every time we share and we talk about these things that she gets to continually live on. And every time I get on that plane, she's always there with me. But now I realize as I step into my true essence that this beautiful gift I've been gifted is that my mom is always with me. But just like she used to help me pack my suitcase for every single trip, I get to not only empower to bring women's visions together, I get to help them pack that suitcase, but also all of their guests and the expansion that we get to share in healing, in growing, and in the education of just coming together in community to support each other. And you know what? As much as it hurts my heart because it is sadness, it's also this beautiful gift that I get to share with everyone. Um,
Wow.
and yeah, that's the first time that I've really shared that story that in-depthly. So I really thank you for holding that space and just allowing me to share.
Absolutely. Are you kidding? It's my like honor to receive that. What a special, special person. And I love how you call her mama. And I can feel just like you are in this moment. It's like I can feel her energy and that really such a potent, pure love for you that comes through her. I mean, yeah. For those of you listening, I'm actually able to see Jeanette on video, and she's got her hand on her heart and just like really taking that in. That's so beautiful. I mean, you're really lucky and blessed to have come into life this time with a supportive mama, a supportive, loving mama. So many people talk about the traumas of their childhood and the things that were challenging, and I'm sure you had challenges. I'm not saying, you maybe you haven't,
Of course.
but I'm sure you have. But to be able to have that love and that support, that is just beautiful, just beautiful.
And yeah, and furthermore, just to add into that is, going to what my passion is, right? And my purpose to bring others' visions to life, but it's through the power of retreats. That within that year of really the healing from plant medicines to different teacher trainings I was taking, but I was gifted without even knowing, leading up to that point of my mama being sick, of all of the women in community, yourself being one, without you even knowing or me even knowing what an impact that was going to make into my healing journey and into this space and place. Without my mama, I may have lost my family, but I've gained so much support and community and unity all around the whole world now, right? From the gift of a retreat, from showing up and being vulnerable and those deep connections. Like that's what retreating is all about. We're not half the women we connect with. I don't even know, you may not even know what your last name is. I'm like, what you do for a living, but I can tell you what is your deepest, darkest fear, what your purpose and your passion is and your mission in life, right? And that to me is the true gift of retreats. And that I speak on that in this moment because that's what gave me hope, right? Was this essence to be able to, I can do anything, right? And in sadness and in this pain, that you can reach out worldwide and feel that love. Right. And that's why, I respect you so much. And I just feel our connection because it is that, right? Like we're walking the walk, we're talking literally right now, the talk of exactly our true essence. And I just think that that is just beautiful to be part of.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I want to go back just and say it again because I
Yeah.
read your bio so quickly when we hopped on the air here. And this is a little bit of a different radio show because we're talking about retreats and I want to kind of pull it all together. So, the first thing I want to say is that you support people in creating sacred experiences, i.e., retreats, in places all over the world. And and so the gifts are the ripple effect of those gifts that you're contributing to is not only to the retreat leader, but also then to the hundreds, if it's fair to say, participants, right? So the like when we do an act of kindness or we come back to love, I always say like of course we're contributing to ourselves and impacting ourselves, but the ripple effect is really, so profound and important. And I feel like absolutely for sure with your work. And I love your passion around helping people create the way that my words are like create sacred spaces, because that's where the healing and the transformation happens. So that's a piece to just kind of name and hold that that is your passion and your purpose. And one of the ways that I think you empower yourself, but also empower other people. I mean, if you think about it, for all the people that have had really, really major transformations inside a retreat, like you have helped create that. You've helped change a life as a result of what you did to support that happening. So I just want to say that out loud. It's a huge gift. As a
And
retreat facilitator myself, it's massive to have support like what you offer. Yeah.
yeah, and I think for me it was a realization at a retreat I was speaking at this December, that it just like we were working on like our like an elevator kind of pitch or like, like sharing like quickly, if you were to introduce yourself, who are you? What do you do? And it like this light came through to me, and I was laughing because I was like, oh my goodness, I didn't even know how big of a mission I have. Right? Not only in my own true essence, and that's what I was speaking on of, how can we stand in our own between our values and really bringing these connections into the work that we're doing, right? And our passion. And then it dawned on me, I was like, wow. Wow, how incredible is this that not only am I holding space, and I'm standing in my own true essence and I am holding this space, but I am helping others bring, so it's not even just my passion and my purpose, but it's theirs and allowing that space and bringing their visions together to then expand into their community, right? Like, wow, what a big task that is, but what an incredible honor to hold that space and to bring others' visions to life when they, that there are so many ways to strategize and talk about it, that there aren't any blocks. And I'm telling you this as I'll reference my mama always. I was like, there was never no in my life. It was always, how are you going to get there from Thailand to China to, any space and place we were going. And it was just like, how can you get there? Because you can do it all, right? And you can have it all and you can be it all. Right? It's just like you need that one person to believe in you. And I may not have my mom in this moment, but that one person needs to be you. Right? I was like, it's just,
Beautiful.
yeah, it's just an incredible realization that sometimes we don't even know the impact that we actually truly have. Not only just our own industry, but the world itself, right? It's just an honor to hold space in healing or educating or, whatever that might be, in terms of us all coming together. And I just think that that is just such an honor and a gift. And I'm humbled at the fact that this is my mission, right?
Yes, absolutely. We're going to take a commercial break, but when we come back, I want to get back to that how question because your mother must have been just like a divine angel on the planet because that mentality and that way of thinking is really rare and unique. So I'm looking forward to getting back to some more of that juiciness. We'll be right back. Come back to Love Radio. We are here today with Jeanette Tachynsky and Embrace Retreats. I am so I'm thrilled, I want to say, to be meeting your mother through your words and the energy that you're sharing about her. My listeners probably know this about me, or those of you that are meeting me for the first time know that, or will know that I am so aware energetically and also tuned into energies on either side of that veil here on the physical planet and elsewhere. And I just am getting such a sense of her energy and her love for you. It's really, really touching and opening my heart in a big way. And she must have had an amazing upbringing because for her to be able to, in that generation as well, to be able to come in and be in a space of asking the question, how? Never like, well, how could like most people when somebody puts an idea out or a child thinks of something, magical they want to do, a lot of people will say like, "Oh no, that's not possible," or "Oh, well, no, probably not. You're not going to be able to do that." Well, or they'll say something like that, right? What I'm hearing from you is that your mother will responded differently and instead was asking a question, actually an open-ended question, which are my favorite, one of my favorite tools. Um, and just asking like, well, how? How can that be created? Or what needs to happen next to have that happen in the world? What else is possible is one of my favorite questions, which kind of fits in with the how question. And one of my other favorite questions is what would it take to fill in the blank? Which are all sounds like, versions of the kinds of questions your mom would ask you, your mama would ask you. And that seems to me like she contributed so much to your sense of empowerment and confidence to create whatever you want in the world in a way. I mean, that's the energy of it for me. Was there ever a time actually when you didn't, I mean, you know, didn't feel that way or needed to come back from a difficult moment or a challenging moment? And I wonder, I wonder.
I think that, life always has challenges and it's there are obstacles and lessons for us to learn. I say that now today in this moment, but I can definitely tell you that there are times, as we all go through different things, and grief being a big one for me, that it's not always rainbows and butterflies, right? But growing up and from my very first college experience from studying journalism, moving to Ottawa, back to the big city from a small town, to, thereafter I continued to study. I'm a forever student. And it was always, anytime and I came home with a new idea. I was gonna do this, I was gonna sell Arbonne and I think we might have sold Mary Kay at one point and we might have done all of these things. And my mama was always just right there. How can I support you? How are you gonna do this? And I will share with you, like we didn't come for money, but we manifested. And, in this day and age, we can talk openly and say these things, but I grew up with crystals and astrology and all of these beautiful things that I didn't even know were such intricate parts of my life. It's who I am and who I be, right? And my mama was that. And so our way of thinking and being, is different, and it may compare to some and it may not at all, in terms of the way that we lived our life. It was, we had challenges as everyone does, but when I had these crazy ideas, it was just like there's no limit to the life, and I look at these things now and just how, even conversations that we have with people, especially when you're trying to, we'll say like you're trying to sell a retreat and you're trying to share all these things. And I don't say sell, I mean more of like invites, but you cross paths with many people who are in the I can't, right? And I can't, if we rephrase that, is really I won't. So you actually just don't want to do the thing, or you won't do the thing, right? And it's like they're not ready to see their own blocks and their own ways of being. But for me, it's just like I feel challenges just the same as everyone, but it's the way that we've always handled it. Like when I went back to school and studied event management, hence how this path all came together. And there was this beautiful opportunity to go to China and to teach with our professors. And I was like, Mom, I'm going to do the thing. I'm going to do the thing. And lo and behold, it's just, we figured it out. And whether it was just an act of faith or God or, our energy and just like our belief, right? That it all of a sudden things would just keep aligning. They would align. The money would appear, or a credit card would come through, or a bursary that I received. Even to my first yoga teacher training, I was like, I'm going to Costa Rica. And my mama figured it out. And, she gifted me that year. Money towards new clothes so we could go shopping and buy new yoga clothes to fit in that tiny little suitcase I was bringing. And then it just continued. Within all of the things that came through for me. Like I was like, I'm gonna do, I'm trying to think of something else that was crazy. Probably the retreat was one of the other ones, or I'm gonna live in Costa Rica, or I'm gonna, travel the world. And it was just like, okay, I'm here to support you. Which I think is a beautiful gift that, you know, there are limitations. And yes, some people will be like, oh, that's not a reality, right? Like that's being irresponsible, or that's not, all of these things in these lists. But as we continue to grow and we heal, you realize that those are others' projections, that they are stuck in their ways based on, it could be their own limiting beliefs that are stopping them. Because I can tell you right now, I've been living my best life, as best as I can through all the things, but I also keep getting on the planes. I keep going to the retreats because I don't believe in no. When I am meant to do something, you figure out a way to do it. And that is the empowering part. That is living life, right? We still have to learn the lessons, and the odd time I get, a little bit of a reality check in, as we all do. But for that most part, that's just the way it is. That's just the way of being, of living, and the way I was raised, supported, and guided by my mama, right? So it's just like this beautiful gift that I carry on, right? It's just like, and I teach that to others because what stops you? What stops you, right? What is it that you want to do? What do you want to create? Where do you want to go? Because at the end of the day, you're stopping you, right? You're the biggest block. And it's just like peeling through those things to find what is that? How can you overcome those things to get where you want to go, literally and figuratively?
Yeah, I was just going to ask you exactly that. Like, what's your best advice, or maybe a story from your experience of working with people whose mindset isn't as positive as yours or as confident as yours? And I know, like, I've been leading retreats for 10 years now, coming on 11. And so I have a lot of experience, and I have confidence in my capacity to fill a retreat and to create an experience. And I know you work with people probably on all places on the continuum, brand new retreat facilitators, experience. So what happens for you when you have a facilitator who just hasn't yet developed the mindset that you come with? Like, how do you approach that? And I'm wanting to also expand that out. Like it's a general question of like, what happens when our mindset isn't in alignment with what we want to create? And how do we come out of that from your perspective anyway, right now? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, just for the latter part of it, in terms of like blockages, right? So what happens when we're not in alignment with our true essence, right? And that goes to, for me, your true essence is your mission, it's your gift, it's your purpose, your passion, right? Like what lights you up. Like this is when you are in alignment, right? Things flow with ease. You call in your tribe, you're everything, you're just at the top of the planet, right? And there are lessons and things that come through, but the more that you are in your truth and you stand grounded, right, the things will come through as the lessons learned, and you just keep coming back to you. But what I feel like what happens is a lot of times that people, you know, these blocks come through because they're not in alignment in terms of, you know, maybe not, let me just think for a moment, in terms of not being in their true essence to their core values. And when they're out of alignment, it just makes things more difficult. Right. So you can have people that are like, oh, I want to do a retreat. Absolutely. Right. But for me, I've created an acronym that kind of walks you through this, right? Of because you can be like me and we can be these big dream thinkers where there's no limits, you know, but I speak like that and I chase rainbows and butterflies. I absolutely do. Barefoot in Costa Rica, I absolutely do that. But there is also a version of me that lives through strategy and, you know, from personal professional guidance, that I stand in my essence because I've lived through these other things and these other blockages, right? um and what comes through for that is that people need to really sit with you, like what are you trying to create here, right? And I think that that's where a lot of us get lost, right? It's the outside world has this bigger effect on us and we're not actually in alignment with our truth, so things feel more difficult, they feel out of alignment. And it's, you know, as much as you're trying to do something, it just doesn't happen because there's a lesson for you to learn that you're just not seeing it. And unfortunately, fortunately, depending on how you look at this, those lessons can be pretty abrupt. They can be loud. They can, you know, really shake things up. And sometimes we feel like there's like this sense of failure, right? Because we're out of the alignment, or maybe we're not doing something with the right intention in our creations, right? There's these all these different things that kind of come up. And I think for me, the biggest advice that I can really say is that, you know, we walk through in my teachings is that we go through a meditation, right? We remove some of these blocks, we put you in this space, in this place of that big dream thinking. You can have it all. So it's in that realm where you're going to find your passion, your purpose, because you're just allowing yourself to be, right? And if you're guided properly through the meditation, it opens up these spaces and places for you without distractions, right? Without all of our labels. You're not a mama, you know, a doctor, a teacher, a retreat host, a guide, an anything. You just get to, for that moment, sit with it and see what creation does come through. What is my purpose? What is my passion? You know, and it's also, it's the work that we do on ourselves, with ourselves, you know, throughout our communities, and really falling into that, right? And questioning, like we need to question our own capabilities, our own blockages. And if we're not ready to really see that and do that, yes, you can create retreats that, you know, could, they can be successful, but it's going to be harder, right? If you're not in alignment with your essence. So for me, what I said in that was my, I'm laughing because that was my retreat, was called Your True Essence. And
Oh.
it was Embrace Your True Essence, was my very first retreat that then became Embrace Retreats. Um, and, you know, if you talk to the CEO of Imiloa and to a lot of the staff that worked there back then when I was hosting my retreat, I was so aligned with what I was doing. Like I was like, I'm doing this retreat. Like this is happening, right? And that goes back to my, you know, my limitless thinking, the way I was raised, the support I had from my mama to do the things, right? So I was gifted that. So what happens in retreats is I filled it, we did the thing, right? Because I called in the support. I believed so much in what I was doing that there was nothing that was going to stop me, right? And then we strategized and we figured out within that. So that's the gift that I like to share, is that when you know, like your whole heart is into something, it's, you're not selling tickets. Gone are those days. We're not selling tickets. You're sending invites out. You're inviting who needs to be here, who needs your medicine, right? And it's like those blocks within ourselves are our teachers. They are the teachers. So when I meet with someone and they're like, oh, I want to do this, and this, and they have this big thought, that's perfect. That's where we want to start. If you are that and you've got this massive dream, then we can bring it bound to reality and really figure it out. How can we do this? It's the how, just like my mama. How can you do that? And then if I have other leaders that come through that are like, Sometimes they're just missing. People don't know what they don't know, right? In terms of retreats. And a retreat is not, it's not this tiny project, right? In all these different capacities as there's a lot that goes into it. And that's why I shaped my business the way it is and the expansion and to be able to support leaders because I don't believe that you have to work as hard as some hosts think too in some capacities. It's like coming together, which is the whole point of a retreat, is calling in all those that need your medicine, but it's also sharing that space, right? To create together so that it doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be stressful because at the end of the day, it's about sharing your medicine with your community and expanding, right? So it's removing those blocks. And there is strategies that come to it. You want to host a retreat. For me, my first retreat, I was going to have 40 people. I was going to sell out of not only the whole retreat space, I was going to take, the whole town. I think at some point I was like, I am doing that thing, and we ended up at 15, which was a beautiful number for my first retreat. I didn't even know many of the people that were there except for the women that came together to create with me. So that was a beautiful experience. But I share this because I did do the thing. I signed a contract that was worth $1 billion, in my first retreat. And I know what that feels like when you have this passion and you want to share your gifts and your purpose, that sometimes I think we put those limits that we can't do something because of that. Like, oh, I don't have the money. Oh, I don't have this, and the real purpose is to share your medicine. So by looking at all of these things and having these conversations, some of them aren't so nice, and you have to really think about it. Do you have, there are certain questions to ask yourself because a retreat is a big, big investment. It's a big personal investment. And it's like you have to look at it and be like, okay, well, what happens if? And this is a rarity, but it is a question, a mindset to put yourself into is how will I feel? You know, the worst case possible scenario is that no one comes to this retreat and I owe for this money. How do I feel losing? It could be anywhere from 50 hundreds. It could be a lot of money that you're going to lose. How do you feel about that? And also looking at it to how much money do you have to invest in this? And with the strategies that I pull off of the relationships that I have pretty much across the planet now. Like we've expanded a lot, but Costa Rica is definitely where I have most of those, is that looking at all these things, you need to ask yourself those questions too, because you're placing your own blocks and your own limitations. But there is a reality that if you believe so much in what you are doing, that there are always ways to maneuver through that. And there are strategies of different relationships you can call in, partnerships, co-hosts. You can do trading within the industry to bring in more people. If that is what you are on this mission to do, there's nothing that's going to stop you. If you are really truly in that essence, as I've proved, and I'm also here to support you, right? Like I did the thing. I did the thing. I didn't sleep for a year and I signed a contract, so I know. Right? And it's like, again, just circling back is that, the only limits that we have are the ones we put in ourselves, as we hear this time and time and time again. And I can't sit here and say that, I can solve all your problems and we can build your dreams, but we can. We really can. We can at least have the conversation and we can play the game my mama and I always play. And it's in my perfect world. In my perfect world, right? What does that look like? What does your creation look like? What does your retreat look like? What does your life look like? Right? And it's
Yes.
like, then we figure it out. We figure it out. And, starting really big, sometimes it ends up that it's not as grand as we thought in this moment. Maybe it's just a weekend retreat. Maybe it's just a workshop, or maybe it's all in and we're doing the thing, where others come together and they help that creation, right? So I think, as I kind of went off here, but I feel like there are so many different ways that you could, offer guidance and support and looking at the blockages, looking at the challenges and the obstacles that you're putting on yourself. And then, asking yourself, like, how badly do I need to share this gift with the world? Right. And if that's your calling, then we're gonna do it. We're gonna figure this out. And there's challenges like we keep saying too, and obstacles of in everything that we do. But those are your stepping stones, and those are your tools to help you learn, and your biggest teachers to get you where you need to go.
Awesome. We're going to take a quick commercial break and we'll be right back. Welcome back to our listeners. This is Come Back to Love Radio, and we are on Dream Visions 7 with Jeanette Tachynsky and myself, Robyn Vogel, your host every week. So I just wanted to pull out a piece that is so near and dear to my heart, and that is my mantra, Come Back to Love, which is about coming back to your true essence, our own true essences, and being in alignment with ourselves, which is certainly a journey for most people, and maybe a part two for this conversation another time. But you have demonstrated so clearly and so articulately what's possible when we are in our true essence, when we've come back to love with ourselves and we feel our own empowerment, our own gifts, the confidence to bring these out into the world, and almost like I have to bring this out into the world because I know that this is my calling. This is the reason I'm here. And for me, it took me going through some decades of doing different types of work, where I loved it and I knew it wasn't my highest offering. And eventually got to this space of knowing, okay. And of course, we're all evolving and that can change over time. But I just wanted to highlight that first of all, it takes some time to get there. It can take some time to get there. And one of the tools that I teach often that I love has to do with feeling the energy. And you've referenced it a few times. When things feel light, it means, and I learned this through many places, but also through the work of Access Consciousness, that when something feels light, it's really something that is in alignment with our true essence and our highest purpose. And when things feel heavy energetically, they're not in alignment. And when things feel heavy, there can be obstacles that, can be our gifts to work through. And and sometimes there's obstacles even when things feel light and are in alignment because the universe is inviting us to like a higher place or to step in more powerfully. So, we say, sorry, not sorry about those obstacles. But I want to just broaden it, to the people that are listening that are thinking about creating anything, like creating a retreat or, as you said, a class or a day-long workshop or just an experience for themselves and other people or with a partner. It's your inspiration of basically saying yes and how can I do this? It applies to everybody and it applies to everything. You can apply it to parenting. I want something to change, with the relationship with my children. Yes, and how can we create that? So I just want to broaden like the tools that you have shared and the inspiration that you have shared. And also say that, yeah, if you're creating something awesome in the world or you are inspired or you've got that little whisper. A lot of people whisper that to me because I've created so many retreats and they say, I want to do that too. And I'm like, yes, yes. So you are absolutely one of the top experts in the world, I will say, to connect with so that you can support people. I've actually worked with several different facilitator of retreats that have helped me. And you are amazing. And a lot of it has to do with your mama and what she helped you create in the world and your mindset and your attitude about it. I mean, it really, really is important, honestly. It makes a world of difference to be connecting with somebody who's, yes, and how can we do this? Let's move forward, versus somebody who is more locked into conclusions that are, limiting. So it's a beautiful way of being in the world. It's important. It's an important way to be in the world, and I'm grateful to have connected with you. So we're at the end of our time, and I'm curious if you have a way for folks to reach out to you and anything you would like to share with our listeners.
Yeah, I just am feeling so, I'm like, as I take a deep breath here, just honored to be here and to be able to share. Like it just my heart, and this was a big share for me. So I just want to thank everyone for listening and for you specifically for holding the space and, honoring my mama, which is a true gift for me. And yeah, because being of service is what lights me up and being able to give back and to share knowledge. For anyone that comes to my website that listens to this, please feel free, anyone actually, just to reach out and say hello. I'm always open for community and unity. But what I'd like to gift is anyone who sends me an email, which you'll see on my website. Everything is listed here as well. So you can get a hold of me or on Instagram with the word love. And I've got a little gift for you, which is my infamous retreat acronym that kind of walks you through the whole process with your big dream thinking, but also bringing you back to the reality and the timing. And, is this right for me right now? Right. So we're asking ourselves the how, but then also looking at it, is it right now? Right. And these specific questions that I would love to support. So I would love to gift if anyone who, I would love to gift that as well as my time. So if you send me a message with the word love, I'm happy to connect to do a coaching call, whether it be a coaching call, a Q&A, you just want to learn something about retreats, about me, about Costa Rica, and travel. I'm here for it all. So I just want to just express that I'm open to receive the communication.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jeanette. It's been such a pleasure to spend this time with you, and I look forward to more connection in the future. And for those of you listening to Come Back to Love Radio, we'll see you next week, same time, 1 a.m., 1 p.m. Eastern Time, live on Dream Vision 7 and on podcasts all around the world. Have a beautiful day, everybody. Mwah.
Mhm.